today I have Aditya with us, who has 14 years of a track record in strategy and analyst relations. He has developed a lot of strategies that have helped businesses go a long way, especially increasing their familiarity and affinity to the organizational across different areas of success when it comes to different customer segments. Let's welcome Aditya on 10 Minutes of Hiring Wisdom, where he will tell us about the company he's working with, what he has learned, whether the company he's working with is hiring, and why you would want to be a part of this company. Hi, Aditya. How are you doing today?
Doing good, Meenal. Thanks for having me here.
Of course, Aditya. So, Aditya, can you tell us about where you're working, what your company does?
Sure. So I had the analyst relations and a public relations function for the company. It's a fintech leader called High Radius. We are based out of Houston as a headquarters, and of course, we have global offices across. And we work in the office of CFO space. It's kind of a fairly interesting and hot topic currently right now. It's been going on, and the idea is to automate the visibility of cash. And very interesting, the topic is called order to cash or invoice to cash as a topic. And the idea is right from the point of view of you have understood that you need to collect your payments. You got a series of invoices, you have a follow-up, you got paid, and you want to understand what have you got paid for. You got paid for 3-month old invoice or 6-month old invoice. Did you paid in full? Did you got paid in half? Where is my money? It's a simple thing. Jerry Maguire statement, show me the money. That's our job. We help large
Okay.
enterprises get the cash position visibility and get the cash applied to the right payment of invoices.
Okay. And I mean, I do know some companies like this already exist.
Mhm.
What is something that makes your company specifically different when it comes to actually making the process much more
Right.
transparent?
So think of it this way. If Walmart is a customer and Walmart has some 650,000 vendors to get to pay to be paid for what they are selling. Let's connect a better example. So you have a Ferrero Rocher as an example, selling chocolates to Walmart, selling chocolates to Costco, selling it to Tesco, selling it to this, hundreds of SKUs, and they want to be paid on time because we don't have cash. Is the most strategic asset, especially in the pandemic scenario, and you have no visibility of where the cash is coming on time or not. They rely on companies like us because that's where the complexity becomes very, very high. So there are very few collection agents, very specialized scale, who understand the process of invoice journey. You invoice the customer to the payment that happens to it. There are very, very few well-trained people, and that's a real shortage of people who understand it. It's been a manual job. We try and automate that, help the clients speed up the daily sales outstanding as the primary parameter. And second parameter is cash position. Healthy cash is the biggest asset in current scenario, and it helps you prevent the Chapter 7 and Chapter 11 in US market. So that's the background.
That makes sense. I mean, that definitely does help. And I liked the example of Red Rocher because it definitely helped in seeing how it makes your company stand out. So thank you for sharing that, Aditya. And Aditya, you mentioned that you have a specific background in public analyst relations and you head that right now in your
Mhm,
company.
mhm.
What is something, according to you, that would make a person that wants to pursue a career in this particular field successful compared to other people who are pursuing the similar field?
Right. So the ARPR role is kind of somebody who has a direct access to the office of CEO. I personally call it's the office of CEO's role because it's kind of an advisory plus engagement plus execution role kind of a thing. Someone aspiring for these kind of roles, think of two lines. First thing is strategic alignment to the top leadership of the company in terms of thinking purpose. And second part is strategic engagement in the same front. So if the CEO has a certain direction, you need to acknowledge it. And second part of it is who are your beneficiaries in this game. So you have a new product to launch, you're working with the product engineering team, you're working with the product management team, you're working with the product marketing team, and your job is to harmonize it. You're launching a product, that means you also need to work with the functions like operations and all to understand that it is priced right, it is supposed to make the company profitable in the longer run, the budgeting is in place, and you get the best of the both world because the analysts, let's say larger firms like Gartner's, Forrester's, and IDC's, typically their average IQ is 2x of the normal intelligence IQ. And I'm working with them, ensuring that the right thought process gets channeled on both the sides. So sometimes we learn from the analysts, sometimes we also expose them to the things, the way things work, like in certain scenario. Giving example, we have the ERPs like SAPs and Oracles working in every system. Every company has it. larger or smaller format, cloud or on premise, take a call, but it's there. However, historically, there are certain loopholes in different ERP systems which resulted in many multi-billion dollar companies starting. For example, human capital management. Workday just picked up a thread that it is not the strength area of SAPs and Oracles. So Workday became an overnight success. Workday inspired Ceridian like company to become the next level 2, level 3 in doing that, and they become the next company. So similarly, the order to cash scenario in which we are operating also is a phenomena where SAPs and Oracles of the world do, but not that promising enough or don't fit into the game which the office of CFOs of our clients are looking at. So they come to experts like us with a lot of domain expertise.
Okay. That makes sense. So it must be a lot of responsibility on your part as well, and it must be a bit overwhelming. But I can see that you're doing well, which is great to see. But Aditya, as in like I've gone through your careers page and everything, but I'd love to hear that about the company that you're working with, whether it's hiring, what kind of positions are open,
Mhm.
and what people are likely to thrive in the company that you're working with if they do apply, for
Right.
instance.
So think of from two angles. One, what does the typical finance function does? The strategic asset of a company is a single word called cash. So how do you collect cash and how do you apply cash? We take care of the cash collections business of the large companies. So if the company is sensitized to the individual who is coming forward to, the baseline is to understand is to survive, cash is the most functional asset. And how do you collect cash as a function? If you have a range of cash collection as a process, like from how do you do collections, how do you do deductions? Suppose a vendor has a dispute over a certain inventory or a certain invoice, like inventory driven invoice because inventory was not good, what was supplied was not up to the mark. I'll give you an example. Mars chocolates, again coming back to chocolates. In 2013, Mars chocolates, somebody inserted a certain consignment of fake chocolates. Now, Mars is not in a position to collect that money because that was a fake chocolate from somebody inserted into it. It won't happen like that. It's an example. Mars is just an example. I can give any example for that matter. The question here is now if the company is not getting the chocolate on time, payment on time, that particular good is zero value and you have invoiced it, there is going to be a dispute. Now, how do you handle that dispute? But first case first, have you understood there are disputes? Then there are payment terms. You got to pay in 30 days or 60 days or 90 days from the receipt of the invoice. So somebody who aligns to these things, who can and think technically. For example, I know on an average the CPG company's DSO is 60 days. They get the payment in 60 days. But here is one company which is a leader in this space in collecting cash is 45 days. First thing is why, what are they doing it in the first place? Second, what is the role of technology in that place? Third, are we understanding that the people who are paying on time are not to be bothered with too many phone calls or emails or things because they're already paying on time? Who are the troublemakers in my payment system? Or rather, who are the least lenient to pay on time? What can I do to make them pay on time? Where is the role of technology in each of these things? Is it something because of the global indicators that the country itself is in trouble? It is they're trying to retain cash, so they're not paying on time. Is it a habit thing? Is it a system thing because they have to go to a particular portal, log in, and then download a certain thing, series of invoices, tally pen paper? Can I optimize it with technology? Those are the people we are looking at. Think on those directions.
Okay, so I think it's very important to ask the right questions and making sure that you have the answers specifically before applying to the role, because then
Right.
you realize that whether you are actually a good
It's
fit for the company and specifically the position.
it's a domain specialized company actually. If you really look at it, very very strong on domain on this part,
Uh huh.
and also very sensitive to the need of
Okay,
getting the right cash on time. Because if you don't pay on time, you have no idea how many people are suffering, how many companies are suffering. And
that's true.
when
That's
large
true.
companies do business, sometimes they're very very, like I would say, that they don't match on time. It's like it's a very complex process too. Somebody who understands the role of technology in doing these things. So imagine when we have a chatbot which is an assistant which works with a collection agent to say, here is your today's thing, here is your today's task, these are the top 5 invoices and the average value is this. It would help if you start ringing them or start calling them using a soft phone or a chat thing. Start pinging because you need to start collecting it instead of you going through hundreds of sheets or reams of paper. I've done the similar, that's the specialization for you. Now, can I specialize for retail companies? Is a different problem. Can I specialize for CPG companies? Different problem. Pharma, very different. Banks, very, very, very different from. So can I have one past experience of containing it? Yes. Can I do the transfer learning in the language of machine learning to apply what is happening in CPG can be applied to retail? Probably no. But it's the role of technology that gets adapted to.
Okay. That makes sense. Well, Aditya, thank you so much for sharing your insights specifically with examples. And I loved how detailed and how thorough you were. But other than that, Aditya, our time is up. It was a
Sure.
pleasure having you as a guest. And if people do reach out to me with interest regarding your company, I will
Sure.
definitely forward them to you. But thank you so much for
Absolutely.
coming on as a guest.